Marianne Gray. Oh, so did you have notes that scrolled down too?
I couldn't see much of my notes.
Okay, that's fine. I can.
Let's see.
She's a presenter.
Oh, I know. Yeah, it's okay.
It kind of messes up when you're
Yeah,
a presenter.
It's okay. Yeah, I'll figure out. The notes kind of scroll up. It's the next slide. That's fine. When you go to the next slide, it's going to show up. Oh, these are the notes for this.
Oh, okay.
That's okay. That's fine. Okay. All right. So, hello. My name is Rebecca. I'm the illustrator of the group, and my presentation is called. I don't know why that's justified to the left. Sorry about that. But my presentation is called "Naturally Different." I guess that makes sense. That it's over there. And that's me. Apparently, I'm 5 years old. So I can probably safely say that most of us, if not all of us, have felt different or like we didn't belong at some point in our lives or we felt left out. And that's something a lot of us have in common. And a lot of those experiences have come about when we were young or when we were children, maybe in middle school, if anyone has interesting middle school memories. But yeah, unfortunately, they are seen as negative experiences. And my illustrations, one of the goals I have is to make those differences that we all have positive and show them in a more positive light. And to show the benefits of being different, because that's what makes us who we are. We're all different, and that's how we are as humans. And as a kid, I felt very, very different. I felt very awkward, socially awkward, physically different. I liked toy cars. I didn't really have extremely trendy clothes. I didn't really like makeup that much. I didn't have many friends. And so what I found was, I had, yeah, you're right, it is kind of weird. There we go. And I was desperate to find any way to feel normal, that sense of normalcy. One of the ways that I felt like I belonged was at nature camp, where I was able to learn about nature and run around in the woods with other kids with similar interests. So that was something that was really helpful. But I was also interested in children's books, and I got lost in the stories, and I loved reading about the characters. And I started writing and illustrating my own stories. And my characters were usually animals, and they would typically face a problem, and they would react to the situation and solve it, and then have a happy ending at the end. And I realized that perhaps that's one of the ways I dealt with feeling awkward or different or weird, to use my stories to help me through the challenges that I faced in real life. And I also retained this interest throughout my entire life until now, writing and illustrating. And I'm just going to throw this out there, Lisa Frank and Royce B. McClure, and they were extreme inspirations when I was very young because of their colors and their saturation, and just, they were so happy, and I think I was drawn to that as well. So in undergraduate studies, and I think the font's a little bit different, so I apologize for any font issues, but in undergraduate studies at Montserrat College of Art, one of the things I did was I loved oil painting, but other than that, I was really frustrated and discouraged because I had a hard time finding a medium that I really, really loved and that could express my stories in the way that I wanted them to. And I went abroad to Italy, and I discovered colored pencils, and I fell in love immediately because they were portable, but they were also really, really precise, and they gave me a sense of control that I didn't have before. And they also, in contrast with, say, pens, they gave me really, really nice, smooth blending. And they had really vibrant colors. They let me have really vibrant colors that I was craving. And shortly after that, I took a natural science illustration course, which was my #1 favorite class because it combined everything. It was natural science, it was nature, and I could use what I learned from this class to create my own characters, and that's exactly what I did. before that, I did a lot of studies in nature, like birds and driftwood. I really loved using the colored pencils to show that complexity in nature that we often, that we sometimes overlook. And actually, most recently, within the past year, I was introduced to an artist called David Morrison, and the left and the top right ones are his, and I just put mine at the bottom right to compare. And what's interesting is I did driftwood in 2009, and I just discovered Morrison's work, and it's very similar. And it's interesting because it's the stuff that I have been doing, spot illustrations, science illustrations that really captured those details and complexities of nature. And then here's a few more from my undergraduate studies: anatomical studies and portraiture, incorporating what I learned from natural science illustration into those drawings. So when I came to the program, naturally, when I was asked to create 10 images of whatever I wanted to do to start off, I did this. And I did several spot illustrations of animals and architecture and flowers from Bermuda, because that was really interesting to me to kind of see all of those different things from that region. And then, oh, and by the way, I will have a book with all of these illustrations called Hibiscus, like hibiscus, in the show on Friday, so be sure to check it out. And then I was asked to take the most successful aspects of these pieces and create a new drawing, and that led to lionfish. And I really loved doing that. It took me probably at least 12 to 15 hours just staring at a piece of paper, but it was so fun. I don't know. It's just what I love to do. I just love that control and precision. And here's Ernst Haeckel. Jackie Gleisner introduced me to this artist because he was also a scientist as well as an illustrator, and he was really interested also in the complexities, the details of nature, how things worked, the colors of nature. These are sea anemones, and kind of clarifying natural creatures to someone who might not look as closely. Okay. So it got to the point where, okay, so I had natural science illustration, that's what I love to do, and I also loved to write and illustrate my own stories, so it was time for me to incorporate the two together and create a cohesive story. So one of the books that I've always thought about ever since I was little was the book Swimmy. Has anyone heard of Swimmy or remember Swimmy? By Leo Leone. What was really cool about Swimmy was he was a little black fish over on the right, and all of the other fish were red fish. And he's all alone for a lot of the book. But then at the end, I'm going to spoil the ending. In the end, he helps to scare off a big fish, a big scary fish, a big scary tuna, because all of the red fish up in the top right work together, and Swimmy is the eye that helps scare off the big fish. So his difference is positive, it's beneficial, and it helps save everyone's lives. So my first story was Rowan the Robin. And Rowan is a robin with green feathers instead of red feathers like your typical robin. And at first, she is shunned by the other robins. She's different, and they make fun of her, and they don't let her participate in things that they do. But at the end, they realize that her green feathers camouflage her in the grass, and she's able to catch the most worms. So then they're all jealous of her new ability, and they all realize that, you know, her difference is not a bad thing, but it's actually what makes her who she is, and that's really special. And by the way, these are directed at children, younger children, to kind of help them embrace and celebrate their differences rather than see them in a negative light, as we often do when we're young, especially when we're younger, and when we're older too. This is Eric Carle. He's another person I looked at, and I read his books growing up, all of them, or most of them. This is Animals, Animals. He illustrated this, and it's a lot of different poems written by different writers, but he illustrates an animal for each poem, and that was kind of interesting. They're not always related to each other, but it explored different animals and different habitats and different styles of writing. That was interesting. And there's also Graham Bass, who used the alphabet to create different characters based on the letters of the alphabet. So lazy lions lounging in the local library. And then at the zoo on the right is about a lonely polar bear who, has anyone heard of at the zoo? Oh. Well, it's a couple of characters who go to the zoo and they walk through the zoo, and as they walk through the zoo, all of the animals that they see join them in their journey, and by the end of the story, they are all in the same frame, and they're all together, and they give a little stuffed polar bear to the lonely polar bear who needs a friend. So that was kind of cute. I'm sorry I'm spoiling all these endings for you. So based off of all of those inspirations that I've looked at since I was little, I came up with my own complete story, especially because I didn't want to draw 36 frames of just robins the whole time. I wanted to explore different animals and different environments and habitats. So I've decided that the title is called Flowers Are Sweeter, with the help of Christy over here, thank you. It was very hard to come up with a title. And there are animals for each letter of the alphabet, and each animal has some sort of difference. It could be a physical difference, say appearance, or a physical disability. Some of the animals have geographical differences and live in different places, and you know, different places that they don't originate from. Preferential differences, cognitive and learning differences even. So there's a lot of things going on, and a lot of things you wouldn't normally expect from these animals. And at the same time, just like at the zoo, the anteater, so Alex the anteater, I'll focus on her for a little bit today. She is eating a flower because she prefers flowers over ants. She's a vegetarian. And she picks a flower, and throughout the story, she carries the flower through the whole entire thing. And as you go through the story, all of the characters, you can see it gets more busy as you go down, all of the characters join the anteater on this quest. And what is the quest? Well, at the end, there's a lonely zebra, and they're all kind of squished on a boat over there, coming across the ocean, and they give the zebra a flower because he's really lonely on that island over there. And what's really funny is that I didn't think about at the zoo until after, so it was subconsciously there in my mind the whole time. All right, so the residency last summer, I decided to create some of these characters. And originally, the characters were going to be on a white background, colored pencil, just like I had always done. So this is Alex the anteater, Flowers Are Sweeter. So there's the ants on the bottom, kind of looking at her. And then, oops. And then here's inverted, this is Peyton the penguin, and then still standing, Faye the flamingo. And what I loved about these, so I would spend several hours, sometimes up to 2 days, creating these characters. But I loved getting the smooth gradients of the colored pencil and the details and the bright colors. And so then I was encouraged to incorporate backgrounds and environments. So I thought, well, how can I do that without taking up the whole page? And I thought, well, why don't I make kind of like a window, like a porthole, where you get a glimpse of the environment, but the character is coming out at you. So I did I experimented with that. I also experimented with a little bit of different media, some gouache. And so on the left is Just Chillin', Sunny the sunfish. And then Style, Haley the horse, and Umber the unicorn. And I forgot to mention that Peyton is an inverted penguin, so white on the back and black on the front. And Faye is, he only has one leg. But it's okay because his leg is much stronger than all of the other flamingos' legs. And he stands on it. And then Sunny is a sunfish who just likes to be in the sun. It's okay, he's not dead. He's okay. And then Haley is a horse who loves to dye her hair all the time. And then Umber is a unicorn who doesn't have a mind. So you can't really tell. And he's the one who does the spikes. Okay. So I did really like this format. However, if I did this, after doing these kinds of illustrations for a while, my brain kind of hurt, my hands cramped up, my eyes cramped up. So it was really important for me to take breaks between these drawings, take a step back, and do the other thing that I love to do, which is oil painting. And this is a reference picture that one of my friends took. And this took an hour. This is a speed painting. And that was really helpful for me to contrast with the hours and hours that I spent on the colored pencil drawings, so that I didn't mess up my eyes or my hands. And here's another one, him and us at Marsh. And this was made from a lot of different pictures put together. So this is not a scene that really exists. It's a lot of different scenes. So I continued in the fall. I continued to do the window idea, the circular composition. But the characters seemed to kind of be missing some sort of movement or life, and it didn't quite feel right anymore. So this is the start of where I struggled a little bit to find what I wanted my style to be for this story. And I did, and just to kind of get a sense of where I was going, this is kind of a group picture of all the characters together. Kind of like a family picture where we're trying to get everyone to smile, but they're not really cooperating. So I did some experimental work. I focused a little more on anatomy to kind of get an idea of my characters. One of the classes, Jackie Gleisner again, forced me to really go outside my comfort zone, and I cut up a watercolor painting I did a while back, and I collaged it into this. So that was way outside my comfort zone. I didn't have that sense of control that I had with the colored pencils. I looked at J.S. Weiss. This is Liquid Hymn, untitled. And he does splashes of ink and then puts pencil on top of it in ink, and he stacks paper, so it's a lot of mixed media. So I did a little study of that on the right. I used watercolor and salt. So I was trying to experiment and open up different possibilities to see if I wanted to include anything else in these drawings. And here's a watercolor study of my dog called Sleepy. Well, his name is not Sleepy. And then, so here's where the changing point really happened. So this is a watercolor painting of Alex the Anteater, who you are familiar with. But now she is in an environment, a whole environment. But it was with watercolor, and it was very, very loose. It didn't quite feel right, again. It wasn't what I was looking for. The style was really interesting, and I think I might revisit it at a later time for a different kind of story and a different look. But for this story, it wasn't quite what I wanted to see. And so I tried to incorporate color pencil and detail into a different watercolor environment. So same environment, but a different time. And again, it wasn't quite there. It wasn't meshing as well as I wanted it to. And I was really lost at this point. I wanted to get this whole book done for this residency, and but I didn't feel quite motivated to do what wasn't quite working as well. So I took a step back and I said, okay, what do I really love to do? Going all the way back. So I love oil painting. I love my colored pencil animals. And I thought, well, I've never thought of this before, but why not combine them? So I did a speed painting of this environment. I took the flowers off my merged one, and I took Alex the Anteater over there, and I threw them together, and I just saw what it looked like. And I was like, okay, this is working a little bit better, a little bit, it's looking kind of more like I want it to. It's allowing me to get the movement and ambiguity of the environment, but the detail and precision that I wanted with the characters to really show them, kind of as if they existed in the real world, but with personality. So I tried it again. I said, okay, so here's Isaac the iguana. I did this like last week, I think. It was intense. And, okay, so I took Haley and Umber. I took Dakota the dragon, I took Gale the giraffe, and then I took Isaac and a little bit of grass. I threw it all together, and that's what I got. And it's not quite done. It's almost there. I have a couple more characters to add in, but and it's very bright on the screen. It's not. It's really not that bright, but it's definitely getting to where I want it to be. And this only occurred within the past week or two, so I'm very excited about it. and here it is with text. So oh, by the way, this is a spread, so there's 2 pages. So the horses are the left page, and then iguana is the right page, if you kind of visualize it folding. Haley and Umber keep changing their style. We're going to try out this look for a while, so the hair. Isaac is visibly not as impressed. Straight from the rainforest, he wears it best. And you can see he also has spikes, but they're real spikes. So I did it again. I said, okay, so I'm gonna take, so the bottom right was one I did as a combined series, colored pencil and watercolor. I took Bailey the Bat, the original. I took another oil painting that I did separately. I took Dakota over there, and then it became this. And so it's Bailey and then Cameron the cat's over there. What I also did is I rotated and I darkened up the whole thing, and I forced the perspective of the cat a little bit to make them merge a little bit more. So that was my goal for these, is to try to make them conducive, like, all connected. I'd rather be smiling than wearing a frown, says Bailey the Bat, who can't sleep upside down. Cameron's whiskers are nowhere in sight, but he can see breakfast with just enough light. Spoiler alert, it's okay, Dakota comes in and saves her. It's okay, don't worry. So, and another thing about this too, I don't think I would have gotten to this point without going through all that experimentation. So I was really happy I explored all those different media and tried all different things, and that led me right back to what I love, but in a different way. So that was really, really exciting to get to that point. All right. And then just a connection with teaching too is one of the major connections I've found with my teaching is, well, my thesis was all about reaching all students, and that's my major goal as a teacher, is to connect with every single student. It doesn't matter if they are interested in art and going to art college, or if they're taking the class for a credit, it doesn't matter. Whether they're interested in football and sports, or they're interested in science and math, or whether they have a learning disability, or whatever the case, whatever their background is. My goal is to make art accessible to every student and to make it relevant to their lives. And I feel that I'm a successful teacher if they are able to take something away from my classes, especially something that they didn't expect. And then hopefully they can use that as they move forward. And the other thing too is that I have noticed over the past year that I have encouraged my students to try lots of different media and try tons of different things, and not to be afraid of failure, because ultimately it's all for the better, and they can learn from whatever experiments they make. And especially from the past year, I can use my own experiences to guide them along in that process. All right, and that is it, so thank you so much.